Hello guys, this is Amritha. Today we'll be discussing about cancer and tumor markers. We all are very familiar with this picture, right? This is a picture of the zodiac sign Cancer. What is the relation between this zodiac sign and our topic? So the word cancer has been derived from a Sanskrit term called Karikitakam, which means crab. This name has been chosen because the veins which is present in the cancer affected area has striking resemblance to the crab's limbs. Okay, what do you mean by this oncology? So this oncology is an entire branch of medicine which is solely dedicated to the study of cancer. Okay, it deals with the etiology. Etiology means the causes behind the disease, diagnosis, treatment and prevention of cancers. Some most common cancers in India among men is oral and upper GIT cancer. So this is due to the excessive smoking, alcoholism and excessive usage of tobacco. And some common cancers among women in India are breast and cervix. Okay, cervical cancer. World Cancer Day is observed on February 4th of every year. Okay, next we will be dealing with the etiology of cancer. There are many causes behind cancer. Okay, it may be genetical reasons, due to genetical reasons. So in case of your breast and ovarian cancer, positive family history of these cancers play an important role. There may be metabolic reasons, or it may be due to any physical and chemical agents. Okay, and even environment has got a role to play. So lung cancer is caused due to smoking, and oral cavity cancer is caused due to excessive usage of tobacco, and there is also some hormonal reasons for the cancer. Okay, the origin of cancer. Okay, there are many theories which tells us about the origin of cancers. Okay, one famous theory among them is a mutation theory. According to this theory, the main cause behind cancer is mutation in the genetic material. Okay, when these mutations are going to accumulate over years, it will eventually lead to cancer. Okay, generally in our body, there is a balance between cell production and destruction. When this balance is lost, that means when the cell production is going to increase rapidly and the cell death is suppressed, cancer occurs. Cancer is nothing but a mass of undifferentiated cells, right? So in this case, the cell production is going to increase massively, and the apoptosis, that is cell death, is suppressed totally. That is the main reason behind cancer. Okay, what do you mean by this carcinogens? Carcinogens are the substances which have the capability of causing cancers. Okay, these are physical and chemical agents which can cause cancers. How do they cause cancer? They cause cancer by changing or inducing mutation in the genetic material. They cause mutation in the genetic material. There are basically two types of carcinogen. One is a direct acting carcinogen and another one is the indirect acting carcinogen. As the name suggests, direct means it is as such a carcinogen and does not require any metabolic conversion to become a carcinogen and affect the genetic material. So it will, as such, it is going to affect the genetic material and cause cancer. Example of direct acting carcinogen is alkylating agent. Indirect acting carcinogen means it requires a metabolic conversion in order to become carcinogenic and affect the genetic material by causing mutation. Example of indirect acting carcinogen is benzopyrene, aromatic amines and azodides. Okay. Next comes the mutagens. So any substance which is going to increase the rate of mutation are known as mutagens. So all carcinogens are indeed mutagens because they act by inducing mutations in the genetic material. So all carcinogens are mutagens. So these mutagens, okay, are introduced into our body through many ways, through occupation. So if a person works in an industry which involves the use of aniline and asbestos, so mutagens are introduced into his body, or through lifestyle by smoking, or through diet through aflatoxin. So this aflatoxin, right, it is produced by the fungi Aspergillus flavus. Okay, this normally grows on wet rice and wheat, and it is also found in cattle fodder, and it may enter our body through cow's milk. So we must always ensure that we purchase milk from a hygienic farm. Okay, some examples of mutagens are UV rays, X rays, gamma rays. Okay, next we will see some Examples of chemical carcinogens. So benzopyrene, so this is going to affect the skin and lungs. Aflatoxin, which affects the liver. N-methyl 4-aminoazobenzene and methylcolanthrin. So this methylcolanthrin, right, it is a very powerful carcinogen. And of course cigarettes, which contains a combination of carcinogens like benzopyrene, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, carbon soot. Okay, so we all are very familiar with this picture, right? And the slogan on it, smoking kills. We see it almost everywhere, from the cinema theater to even in the cigarette packets, right? But we never realize how harmful this smoking could be, not only to the person who is actually smoking, but also to his innocent family. Right, this is where the passive smoking actually comes into play. So even the inhalation of cigarette smoke can cause cancer. Suppose a person who is not into smoking is going to pass by a smoker and he is inhaling this smoke which is coming from the cigarette. So even this involuntary inhalation, okay, can cause cancer in that innocent person. It is high time that we realize the harmful nature of cigarette smoking. So I do request you, all of you, to advise any person you know who is into smoking to quit smoking for at least his family's sake, right? Okay. So we are very familiar with this term, right? GST. So GST in biochemistry refers to glutathione S transferase enzyme. So this is the enzyme which is involved in the detoxification of cigarette smoke. And this also explains why all smokers are not developing cancers and only some are prone to cancers because they lack this enzyme GST which is involved in the detoxification of cigarette smoke, right? Anti-mutations. So these are the substances which interfere with the tumor production. So vitamin A and retinoids. Retinoids are compounds which are similar to vitamin A. They can reverse the precancerous condition. Vitamin E, it acts as a very good antioxidant and will cause reduce the dangerous effects of free radicals and superoxides present in our body. Vitamin C is generally given to persons who work in industries involved in aniline. Okay, flavonoids also have anti-mutagenic properties, and phenolic compounds which is present in fruits like grapes, okay, are also very good anti-mutagens, right? There are different types of cancers. So the tumors of connective tissue are known as sarcoma. Cancer of lymphatic tissue is known as lymphoma. So any cancer which is related to the epithelial and glandular tissue is known as carcinoma and abbreviated as CA. Right? Blood cancer is known as leukemia. There's also germ cell tumor, and myeloma involves a cancer of plasma cells, particularly the B lymphocytes. Okay, next we'll see about the oncogenic viruses. So these are the viruses which are capable of causing cancer. So this is the viral DNA and this is the human DNA, right? So this viral DNA, as soon as it is going to enter its host, that is a human in this case, okay, it is going to attach to the human DNA. So there will be a transfer of strands. So this human strand, okay, human DNA strand is removed off and viral DNA strand is going to replace these strands. Okay, there is a strand transfer. As a result, the viral DNA gets incorporated into the human DNA. So it has become a part of the human genome and it can dictate the cells to produce more viral particles, right? As it has become a part of our own human genome. Viral DNA has become a part of human DNA. Next, we will see about human oncogenic viruses. So these are the viruses which are capable of causing cancer in humans. Some human oncogenic viruses are Epstein-Barr virus, abbreviated as EBV. It causes Burkitt's lymphoma and nasopharyngeal carcinoma. Human papilloma virus, abbreviated as HPV. It causes uterine cervical carcinoma. Hepatitis B virus, abbreviated as HBV, which causes hepatoma. Right? Next, we will see about carcinogenesis or oncogenesis or tumorigenesis. This is nothing but the process of development of cancer in a body through mutagen. This is how this mutagen is going to induce mutation in a genetic material, eventually leading to cancer. It generally occurs in 4 stages. First step is all these carcinogens and mutagens is going to damage the DNA by causing lesions. Okay, DNA is damaged in initiation stage. Next comes the promotion, where these proto-oncogenes are transformed into oncogenes. So the cells with recently formed oncogenes are known as latent tumor cells. Latent means something which is hidden. So this is not a dangerous condition and it is usually reversible and it is known as precancerous condition. So these precancerous conditions can be reversed by providing antimutagens like vitamin A and retinoids, right? Next comes the progression. This is nothing but the conversion of the latent tumor cell into an active tumor cell, and this is an irreversible stage. Okay, and metastasis is the last but most dangerous stage of the carcinogenesis, because in this case the tumor is not going to remain confined to a particular area of the body. It is going to reach other parts of the body through the blood vessels. Okay, so you can see in this picture, so this is the cell. Okay, the genetic material is damaged by the mutagens. So this is the cell which is having a genetically altered material. Okay, and this is going to divide and all these cells have a damaged DNA. So these are then converted into a latent tumor cell. So this is a reversible stage and is known as precancerous condition, and this latent tumor cell is in turn converted into an active tumor cell. So this is an irreversible stage, and then comes the metastasis, right? Next we will see about oncogenes and proto-oncogenes. So as the name suggests, onco means cancer. So these are the genes which are capable of causing cancer. Then what do you mean by proto-oncogenes? These proto-oncogenes are oncogenes which are present in normal cells. That means they can be transformed into oncogenes, okay, by mutations, chemical carcinogens, chromosomal translocation, or by viruses, oncogenic viruses, right? I'll explain about this chromosome translocation. See, consider two chromosomes. This is chromosome number 1 and this is chromosome number 2. Both of these chromosomes have a gene which is responsible for cell growth. So this is that gene, okay? And so due to some reasons, so the gene for growth, cell growth present in chromosome 2 is translocated to chromosome 1. Now this chromosome 1 has got two genes which is responsible for cell growth. So as the number of genes is more, the expression of protein will also be high and the cell growth is going to increase rapidly. So in this way it may lead to an undifferentiated mass of cells, thereby leading to cancer, right? Next we will see about the role of proto-oncogenes. Okay, what actual function do they do in our body, right? So they encode transcription factors, and these transcription factors are very important for eukaryotic transcription to take place, so that the mRNA can be produced and it is translated so that the gene gets expressed. Okay, a protein is produced, so it stimulates the expression of other genes. So these proto-oncogenes, right, they'll signal transduction molecules which will stimulate cell division. These proto-oncogenes also act as cell cycle regulators that move the cell through the cell cycle. On a whole, these proto-oncogene help the cell to grow and proliferate, right? Okay, so these proto-oncogenes, okay, they are going to produce many products. Let us see about the products of these proto-oncogene. So cis gene is a proto-oncogene which is going to produce a platelet derived growth factor, which is very much important for the natural wound healing process. Okay, some products of these proto-oncogenes will also act as receptors for growth factors. Example, ERB gene produces a product which acts as a receptor for epidermal growth factor. Okay, RAS gene produces GTPase, and this SRC gene, right? This SRC gene is going to produce a product which can activate key intracellular pathways for growth control. So, in this way, this proto-oncogenes plays an important role in cell growth and proliferation. Okay, next we will see about this tumor suppressor gene. Okay, as the name suggests, they prevent the cancer formation. Okay, they prevent the transformation of a proto-oncogene into an oncogene. So it is also known as oncosuppressor gene or anti-oncogene. It is going to protect the individual from developing cancer. So this tumor suppressor gene decides whether a cell should continue dividing or it should stop its division at a particular stage, and or it should undergo apoptosis. Okay, it is a decision maker on the whole. Okay, this tumor suppressor gene is a decision maker. It will decide whether a cell should divide or it should undergo apoptosis. Okay, it can slow down cell division, it will repair DNA, and it can also control apoptosis, which is the cell death pathway. right? Some tumor suppressor genes are Wilms tumor 1, which is abbreviated as WT, familial breast cancer BRCA1 and BRCA2, deleted in colon cancer abbreviated as DCC, retinoblastoma abbreviated as RB, familial adenomatous polyposis abbreviated as FAP, and P53 gene, right? Next, we'll see about the P53 gene, which is also known as the guardian of genome. Let's see why is it called so. Suppose a cell, okay, its DNA is getting damaged, okay. So this P53 will immediately come and arrest the cell cycle of that particular cell, so that this damaged DNA is not passed on to the daughter cells, okay. It will then repair the DNA and will allow the cell to continue its cell cycle. So in case the damage is very large and there is no use of repairing it, then it will cause the cell to undergo apoptosis. So in this way, this tumor suppressor gene P53 can control both the cell division of that particular cell. It can halt the division at any particular stage in order to repair the DNA, or it can also cause the cell to undergo cell that is apoptosis. So if there is going to be any mutation in this P53 cell, then obviously the cell will continue to keep on dividing, okay, and as a result it will eventually lead to oncogenesis, that is cancer formation, right? Next we'll see about RB gene. This RB gene, retinoblastoma gene, is going to produce a protein P105, okay. This suppresses the cell proliferation, so prevent this activity of various oncogenes. So if the cell proliferation is getting suppressed, then oncogenes cannot act, right? Only when homozygous deletion, that is when both the alleles of this RB gene is deleted, it will lead to retinoblastoma. Both the alleles should be deleted, that is homozygous deletion. Okay, next we will see about BRCA1 and BRCA2. Okay, this BRCA1 and BRCA2 mutation is seen in mostly in 5% cases of breast cancer, 10 to 15% of ovarian cancer, and about 50% of breast or ovarian cancer, which has a family positive history of these cancer. Okay, already the previous family members would have got these diseases. Okay, that is positive family history, right? Next we will see about the action of oncogenes. How do they act? Okay, they act through the production of growth factors. These oncogenes, right, once they are formed, they will produce their own growth factors. So they do not need any extracellular growth factors. Okay, so which can cause, these growth factors will cause mitosis or differentiation of the target cell. So this, you have to remember a very important point over here. One important aspect, that is, when this proto-oncogene is activated, it will lead to cancer. When this tumor suppressor gene is inactivated, it will lead to cancer. When proto and oncogene is transformed into oncogene, carcinogenesis occurs. If tumor suppressor gene is going to get inactivated, so there will be no check on the cell proliferation. It will continue to divide and undifferentiated cell mass will be produced, right, thereby leading to cancer. Next we will see about the characteristics of cancer cells. Okay, in case of cancer cell, the cell death, that is apoptosis, is inhibited, making the cancer cells immortal. Okay, extracellular growth factors are not required. As I mentioned earlier, these oncogenes can produce their own growth factors which will help in their growth and differentiation. Angiogenesis. Angiogenesis means process of producing more blood vessels in order to support the cancer cells with nutrition. So these cancer cells, right, they'll release some growth factor which will cause the neighboring blood vessel to branch into cancer tissue, and this is known as vascularization. And the most dangerous thing related to the cancer cells is the metastasis. They never remain confined to the original area. So they'll start dividing, will enter into the blood vessels and reach other parts of the body, affecting other areas. So melanin, mucus and fat droplets are going to be present in high amounts in cancer cells. The nucleus of the cancer cells are very much irregular, very much hypertrophy and granular. Okay, lysosomes inside the cancer cells is going to increase, and mitochondrial cristae is going to become fewer in number. Next we will see the tumor kinetics, that is speed of multiplication. So in a normal tissue, okay, only 1% of cells is in dividing state, but in a cancerous tissue, right, 2 to 5% of cells are in dividing phase. So these numbers will help us to differentiate whether the tumor is in its mild state or in its aggressive state. If 2% of cells are in the dividing state, then it is a mild tumor. If 5% of cells are in its dividing stage, then it is a aggressive tumor, right? Doubling time is a time taken by the tumor to exactly double its mass. Okay, it is going to double its mass. Cancerous cells also have negative surface charges due to the presence of N-acetylnuraminic acid, abbreviated as NANA. These cancer cells, right, they have lost the property of contact inhibition. Contact inhibition is normally exhibited by normal cells. So what do you mean by this contact inhibition? So when a cell keeps on dividing, right, and it comes into contact with another cell, it will immediately stop its division. But cancer cells have totally lost this property known as contact inhibition. This cancer cell has increased activity of telomerase. Let's see about oncofetal antigens. Particular genes are present in a fetal life, so their protein is expressed. During differentiation, this gene gets suppressed. Okay, as a result, this protein is absent in adults. Okay, during malignant transformation, de-differentiation occurs and these genes get de-repressed and protein appears in case of adult when malignant transformation is going to occur. Okay, example of such proteins are alpha fetoprotein, AFP in case of hepatoma, and carcinoembryonic antigen abbreviated as CEA, which appears in case of colon cancer. So these oncofetal proteins, right, they are very good tumor markers, right? Next we'll see about tumor markers. They are also known as tumor index substances. These are nothing but some factors which are released by the cancer cell and can be identified in the blood. Okay, these tumor markers, okay, they help in the detection of cancer, in following up of cancer, effectiveness of therapy, how effective the therapy is going on. Okay, recurrence of tumor, if the tumor is going to relapse. Okay, prognosis, the progress of disease. So it serves all these functions. Okay. Some clinically important tumor markers are alpha fetoprotein abbreviated as AFP, carcinoembryonic antigen abbreviated as CEA, beta chain of chorionic gonadotrophin, cancer antigen 125 abbreviated as CA125, prostate specific antigen, estrogen receptor, progesterone receptor, HER2 or NEW. Okay. So regarding these tumor markers, you should know their normal values and also the particular tumor marker which is specific for a particular type of cancer. First, we will see about the alpha fetoprotein. This serves the function of albumin in case of fetus. It is increased in case of hepatocellular carcinoma and in pregnancies with fetal neural tube malformation. Okay, the normal value in case of adult males and non-pregnant females is less than 15 nanogram per liter. Above 300 nanogram per liter may be cancer, okay, or it may also be due to non-malignant liver diseases. If it is going to be present above 1000 nanogram per liter, then you can confirm it as cancer except in case of pregnancy. Okay, carcinoembryonic antigen, this one is increased in case of colorectal cancers. It is also increased in case of other cancers like breast cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, lung, gastric and pancreatic cancers. Elevated levels of carcinoembryonic antigen is also found in case of heavy smokers, right? Beta chain of chorionic gonadotrophin. So this is synthesized by the syncytiotrophoblasts and it is increased in case of hereditary mole, choliocarcinoma, germ cell tumor and also in case of testicular cancers. The normal value should not exceed 20 international units per liter. If it is present above 10,000 international units per liter, it indicates to a trophoblastic tumor, right? Next we will see about CA125. So this is a tumor marker for ovarian cancers. So the level of the CA125 is directly related to the tumor mass. If this is going to be present in an elevated level, then the tumor mass would be very massive. Okay, you can relate these levels to the tumor mass. Okay, size of the tumor mass. Next, prostate specific antigen. This is produced by the secretory epithelium of the prostate gland. It is increased in case of prostate cancer. The normal value should not exceed 4 nanogram per liter, right? Next comes the estrogen receptor. So it is normally present in the nucleus of breast and uterine tissue. Okay, this estrogen receptor and also this progesterone receptor both should be tested to check the effectiveness of hormone therapy. Okay, whether the person will respond to hormone therapy. Okay, so in case of estrogen receptor, it is tested for whether the person will respond to therapy with tamoxifen. Okay, progesterone receptor has the same prognostic value as that of ER. Next we will see about HER2 or NEW or ERB2 or EGFR2. This is nothing but a protein which stimulates the breast cancer cells to grow. Any newly diagnosed cases of breast cancer should also be tested for this protein HER2 because HER2 positive breast cancers are more aggressive when compared to the other types of breast cancers. So this HER2 positive breast cancer will respond to treatment by trastuzumab, Herceptin and lapatinib tricur. Next we will see about cancer screening. So screening is a simple test which is done in order to identify a person who has actually got the disease, that is cancer, but is asymptomatic from a group of healthy individuals. This screening is very important because the person has already got the disease but is asymptomatic. Okay, so when the symptoms actually start to show up, it would have been very late. Okay, so screening test should be done then and there regularly so that we can discover this cancer in its early stages, thereby increasing the effectiveness of treatment and preventing the cancer from developing into a deadly disease. Okay, some common screening tests for the most common cancer among women in India are: for breast cancer it is mammography, and for cervical cancer it is pap smear. Even though we all study about these cancer screening tests, we have never asked our mothers to do these tests then and there regularly. So I do request everyone to advise any woman, not only a mother but any woman who is above 45 years of age, to undergo these screening tests then and there regularly, at least yearly once. Okay, other screening tests are bone marrow biopsy, and also you can look for WBC count. Since this WBC count abnormally increases in case of leukemia, you can go for the biopsy of a tissue, particular tissue, and this radiography, CT scan and MRI scan, these three help to identify the cancer related to a particular internal organ. Okay, in case of CT scan, right, X-rays are used to generate a three-dimensional image of internal organs, and in case of MRI scan, magnetic fields are used. Okay, monoclonal antibodies, when coupled to appropriate radioisotopes, can detect cancer-specific antigens, thereby help in detecting cancer. Next we will see about the treatment of cancer. First comes the chemotherapy. As the name suggests, chemicals are used to treat cancer. Okay, anti-cancer drugs are used to treat cancer. Okay, this chemotherapy causes damage to both the normal cells as well as the cancerous cells, but the damage which is caused to the cancerous cell is more when compared to that of the normal cells. Okay, some side effects of this chemotherapy are anemia and hair loss. Okay, a person who is undergoing chemotherapy is under a lot of pain and emotional trauma due to this hair loss, eyebrow loss. It is very much important that we do support them emotionally, give them all love, care and attention, and make them mentally strong enough to face this situation. Okay, in radiotherapy, the cancer cells are bombarded with rays that will destroy their cell growth and division by damaging their genetic material, while causing minimal damage to the surrounding tissue. Even though the surrounding normal cells are affected, they can recover and repair themselves easily. Surgery. Surgery is nothing but the surgical removal of cancer cells, but this has limited usefulness. Okay, it is useful in case of breast and uterine cancers. Apart from these, other treatments are also done to remove any remaining cancer cells. Supportive therapy, as the name suggests, it is going to support the actual treatment. So a person who is undergoing all this treatment, cancer conventional treatment, he is very weak and is prone to infection. So he may be given antibiotics, and even transfusion are done in case of anemia. Immunotherapy, whenever a foreign agent is going to enter into our body, it is going to firstly be faced by the immune system. The same logic is used over here. So our immune system is made capable of identifying and destroying the cancer cells. And blood and marrow transplant. Okay, this is done when high dosage of this chemotherapy, right, and radiotherapy is going to destroy the person's bone marrow's ability to produce blood cells. So in this case, blood and bone marrow transplant can help replacing the bone marrow stem cells which can produce blood cells. Okay, hormone therapy, even sometimes providing or blocking certain hormones, can prove to be beneficial. Okay, removing or blocking of estrogen or testosterone receptor, okay, is an additional treatment. And even providing hormonal agonists like progestogens can also be beneficial. Angiogenesis inhibitor, so this restricts the formation of new blood vessels, thereby depriving the cancer cells of their nutrition, right? Next, we'll see about some anti-cancer drugs which are used in the chemotherapy. Okay, these are methotrexate and 6-mercaptopurine. Monoclonal antibodies. They act by first marking the cancer cell. That is by identifying the cancer cell. Then they block the growth factor. That is, the cancer cells can produce their own growth factor. So these monoclonal antibodies will block the growth factor in order to control the growth of the cancer cell. Then they will inhibit angiogenesis. That is, they stop the formation of new blood vessels in order to deprive the cancer cells of their nutrition. Okay, in the year 2018, James P. Allison and Tasuku Honjo were awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine for their discovery of a protein, okay, that acts as a brake on the immune system, thereby preventing it from identifying and destroying the cancer cell. Okay, they two found out two different mechanisms. That is, the mechanism which was found by James P. Allison was different from that found by Tasuku Honjo. So two different mechanisms were found out in order to remove this protein which acts as a brake on the immune system, thereby unleashing the true potentials of the immune system, allowing it to identify and destroying the cancer cell. So their immense contribution, okay, towards the field of oncology has been a great boon to all the cancer patients. Okay, for your exams, okay, this topic cancer and tumor markers consists of a bunch of short notes. You may get carcinogens as a short note, proto-oncogenes and oncogenes, or oncogenes separately as a short note, and tumor marker is a very important, okay, it is a very important repeated short note, okay, from this topic. With this, we have come to the end of the presentation. Thank you.